our veterans, we have to wonder, why is there so many suicides? The suicides of these returning troops are at all-time record highs, much more than the Vietnam era or following the Gulf War I. Why? What's going on with vaccines to these troops? What chemicals are they being exposed to? Heaven only knows. Don, continue with your story. There's more to the story. Very, very good research, and again, thank you so much for your work.
Well, it's all right. Well, we have people that help us, too, because we have great listeners out there that also assist in the digging up of many of these facts. So our hats are off to some retired officers from the U.S. Air Force, for example, right there in the state of Texas, that smell the same rat that we do in Ohio. and elsewhere around the world. Dr. Hasan was also a researcher at the military's U.S. Center for the Study of Traumatic Stress. And it so happens that about the time these facts were found out, the website was pulled off the internet. That was a Pentagon website. Also, he was researching radiohypnotic intracerebral control electronic dissolution of memory, which is also known as RHIC-EDAM, and that is known to be a CIA project. So here we have the perfect scenario to set this individual up as a patsy and at the same time create or foment more vitriol, more hatred of the Muslim community and right. Or the Muslim faith. Again, this is intended also to be a psyop against the American people. The media has not reported one of these facts that I've shared with you here, and you have to ask yourself, why? Why haven't they? Well, it's quite obvious, because it paints a completely different picture, doesn't it? And then it causes one to consider the fact that what we're saying about this massive theft that was occurring is more likely the true story behind the story, as you like to say, and it would reveal more of the same financial corruption that we've been reporting now for years.
Well, yeah, and you reported last night that your sources informed you that Bush actually was there at Fort Hood following the shootings. It was not reported. It was kind of on the QT. He didn't want to be tied into this, but he was there supposedly to give moral support. And we're talking W. Bush, is that right?
Yeah, George W. and Laura were there to console the bereaved family members of the victims. And according to, get this, a Los Angeles Times article that came out, they had asked for anonymity. They didn't want this to get out. Well, the Clintons found out about it, and it created a rift now between this Bush-Clinton money laundering, theft, embezzlement cabal that they've enjoyed ever since 41 took office. So
why would Laura and W want to go on this mission of mercy and remain anonymous? That doesn't fit.
Well, they didn't want the Clintons to find out. That's for certain. Okay.
Why? See, that's a big question. Why? It has to do with the money. Yeah.
Yeah. But because Bush Senior was trying to steal the money. It's pretty self-explanatory.
A mini Leo Wanta, it appears, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Holy mackerel. Fort Hood being the repository of this vast amount of money. You're talking about Federal Reserve notes dating back into the 30s?
1933 and 34 series, yes, as well as gold and who knows what else, possibly securities or treasury certificates, something along those lines.
Just when you think it can't get any weirder, ladies and gentlemen, it gets weirder all the time.
Your comments, Dr. Mike, what do you think?
I could not have said that better myself. Don, didn't you say that like what you had heard as far as the heist itself, there was 55 skids of paperwork and gold?
That's correct. 55 pallets.
Skids.
55 pallets, yes.
Wow. No wonder Clint was ticked off.
Mm-hmm. Now, simultaneously, there was a parallel bank robbery being attempted of some deposits that were in the Caribbean as well, and all of this was intercepted simultaneously. While this incident was going on in Washington, you had Angela Merkel there to sign over papers, and Bush 41 had traveled to Germany to basically throw a wrench in whatever was being signed in Washington. This was her purpose, Merkel's purpose for being in Washington, was to sign off on the release of these international funds, which we've had 4 presidents interfering with these payments now for their own enrichment. You see, this is international in scope, international money laundering and corruption.
And it all coalesces just virtually perfectly. All coalesces.
Yes. Now, interestingly, and just as a backup to this research, I went back to Virginia Tech and I looked up a story that had come out in January of this year. In fact, January 21st, there was a decapitation of a student, a Chinese student, that occurred in the cafeteria at Virginia Tech. Most of us didn't hear about that on the news at all, did we?
So,
heads up, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, and there was a Chinese lady by the name of Jin Yang who allegedly was at the school for 2 weeks when this occurred, and she knew her assailant. Her assailant was a man by the name of Hyang Zhu. Now, interestingly, I have ways of digging up addresses, phone numbers, communications, things like that in the course of my genealogical or real estate corruption research, and I connect these webs of international conspirators together. Obama is one of them, or BO as you like to call him now, and the Bushes are part of this. Many famous people are involved in this money laundering across this nation, and it's done through the court systems, and there are ways to find lists of these people's names and addresses and phone numbers that they put out in their intercommunications. I found 144 listings for this Jin Yang, the girl who was decapitated. And I found that to be extraordinary, considering she had only been in the country for 2 weeks. Well, I found out actually she went to school at the University of Pennsylvania, but still there were 144 addresses and phone numbers or references to her being in different parts of the country.
Is it the same Jin Yang?
Jin Yang, the same person.
One. Wow.
Okay. And I picked out one address, and guess what? The name was David Yang in Chicago. The address, when I went to the actual address to look to see who actually was at that address, a David Yang. And he was the owner of a company called PDI. And when I looked up PDI, it took me back to the swine flu vaccine and ligand types of technologies and patents that were being used. And this led directly to Israel, to Technion Institute of Technology as well. There are people named on the patents, but they're not affiliated with the usual companies that we see, but yet it's the same technology that Dr. Nyman is so proud of, and his Recombinamics and his ligand technologies, which used to be called Progenics. And then of course we have Joseph Moshe showing up out of the blue. I know that story pretty well. I mean, I'm involved with that darn thing, and yet, you know, Don, have you followed that at all? Have you heard what's gone on? Has he been extradited to Israel, or is he
Is he dead somewhere? I mean, this is a bizarre story. Nothing's.
Well, I found a relative, possibly a mother or a sister, who is a professor at Technion Institute of Technology in Tel Aviv.
Oh dear.
Of the same name. Okay.
So there's this behind the story. Don't go away.
There's no shortcut.